In January of 2023, an internal affairs investigation revealed that Tennessee police officer Maegan Hall had engaged in sexual misconduct with 7 of her fellow officers at the Laverne Police Department. She later filed a lawsuit against her former department, and in it, she claimed that the department's all-male ranks made her feel trapped and exploited, claiming that her superiors and even the chief of police groomed her. In this series, I uncover the investigation, dissect the actual interviews of those involved, and dive into the scandalous files of the lawsuit claims made by Maegan herself. Welcome to Exposed, Scandalous Files of the Elite, the infamous exploits of police officer Maegan Hall. All right, y'all, before we get into this episode, as we do with just about every episode, there are some things in this particular case regarding Maegan Hall that have been adjudicated, namely the charges against her and several other officers in that Tennessee Police Department. The lawsuit, however, has not been adjudicated as of yet, but we are going to dive deep into those charges Maegan has made against several police officers in the Laverne Police Department. Now, Maegan Hall was born on August 19th of 1996 in Lewisburg, Tennessee. And that's a rural part of Tennessee, y'all. It's not like Nashville or Memphis where it's these big cities with a lot of bars and things like that. It's very rural. And Maegan Hall actually graduated with a bachelor's degree in biology from Middle Tennessee State University in 2018. So she was a smart young lady, and that same year she married Jedediah Hall. He is the son of a pastor, and he goes by the name of Jed. Now, although Hall had an interest in becoming a professional actress, she ended up pursuing a career in law enforcement. She joined the Laverne Police Department in 2021, and in August of 2022, she actually performed well and received the Laverne Police Department's Community Service Award. Her husband was also involved in a form of law enforcement at that time. He was a park ranger for Henry Horton State Park in Tennessee, and he was also what's known as an interpretive recreator, which is a Civil War reenactor, is what we call this down here in Louisiana. Now, looking in from the outside, everything appeared to be going great in Maegan's life and with both her and her husband, Jed. That is until December 12th of 2022. On December 12th, Director of Human Resources for the city of Laverne, his name is Andrew Patton, he received a phone call from the mayor, who was Jason Cole. Mayor Cole reported that he received some information from a source, and that source reported that Officer Maegan Hall was having an intimate relationship with other members, plural, of the Laverne Police Department. But specifically, this individual had direct knowledge of an intimate relationship with Sergeant Lewis Powell, Officer Patrick Maglioso, which included a 3-way with his wife, and Officer Larry Holliday. Mayor Cole also mentioned a Girls Gone Wild hot tub party at Sergeant Eric Statt's house. So Mayor Jason Cole obviously had an issue with this. Now, when you're working for a city police department, so Andrew Patton does what most directors of human resources do. He begins investigating this and interviewing people to find out if these allegations are true. And the first person he speaks with is Officer Patrick Maglioso. And Patton speaks with Maglioso on December 13th of 2022 in the Human Resource Office. And he also had Chief of Police Davis with him. And Maglioso signed what's known as a notification of rights, saying that he was made aware of what his rights were in that meeting. And the Human Resource Director gets right into it, and he asks about intimate relationships within the second shift of the Laverne Police Department. He told Maglioso that he was aware of some conduct that was sexual in nature on that second shift. And it's important to mention, y'all, that the second shift, the only female officer on that shift at all times was Maegan Hall. There were no other female officers on second shift. And that's not just a shift that you work every once in a while. If you're on second shift, you're kind of always on second shift in that department. Now, Maglioso told Patton that he was aware of Hall and Sergeant Powell being sexually intimate. Maglioso said that Hall had told him about Powell's big black dick. Maglioso said he was aware that Hall had given Sergeant Powell a blowjob while on duty at a substation. And he also said that he was aware that Hall and Holliday had kissed while at a shift party to watch an NFL football game at Holliday's house. Maglioso admitted to Patton that in the spring of 2022, he and his wife had decided on having an open marriage, and that Hall had asked him about doing things between him, his wife, and herself. Maglioso also told Patton that at one party, Hall and Maglioso's wife started kissing, and Hall's husband came in the room and he seemed upset about it. He continued to say that the next day on shift, Maglioso asked Hall about the husband's reaction. He saw that the guy was mad and he wanted to know about it because Maglioso said that he was under the impression from Hall that her marriage was open. Well, Hall responded to Maglioso that he really wasn't on board. And then they went on to say, have you had sexual intercourse with Hall? And Maglioso admitted to having sexual intercourse with Hall on several occasions. Maglioso also reported that Hall asked him to borrow $50 one time because she wanted to get a hotel room, but did not want her husband to know about it. Maglioso said that he needed the money because he was going to Florida on vacation the next day, and basically told her, you can't borrow $50 for a hotel room. Now, Maglioso did express concern over the mental health of Hall. He reported knowing that Hall was an excessive drinker and said she even showed up intoxicated at his house in December of 2022. He also reported that Hall drank more while at his house and that he knew she was intoxicated when she left and drove home. Then he gets into what was known as the Girls Gone Wild hot tub party. Maglioso admitted to knowing and being at that hot tub party, but confirmed it was on Eric Statt's houseboat and not his house. Maglioso told Patton it was Memorial Day and it included David Durham, who was another officer, and his family, Eric Statt and his family, Hall, and himself. Maglioso stated that Statt, himself, Durham, and Hall were in the hot tub when Hall took her top off, revealing her breast. Maglioso said that Statt also helped Hall put her top back on. So the HR director started asking why Maglioso was concerned over Hall's mental health, and Maglioso reported knowing that Hall unloaded her weapon and dry fired the gun at her head so she could hear what it sounded like. Maglioso admitted not reporting that to anybody. He also reported knowing that Hall voiced harmful thoughts and on multiple occasions said that she should not be alone. Maglioso also called Stats on December 8th of 2022 to report these concerns to leadership. Maglioso reported that Hall had sent nude photos of herself to members of the Laverne Police Department staff, including himself and an officer named Lugo. Maglioso reported that Lugo came to ask him if he had received photos from Hall, and Maglioso said, "Yes, I have." And Lugo said he also received photos and an invitation for a booty call, in his words. Now, that interview was on 12/13 of 2022, and then Maglioso got called in for another interview, a second interview, on 12/20 of 2022, and he was asked for additional information, and he was fully cooperative. Maglioso showed HR Director Patton text on his personal phone between Hall and himself, and after he showed Maglioso that, Patton spoke up and said, "Look, I've already interviewed Hall and we've been communicating during this investigation." So Patton is looking over these texts, and on the text, he sees a nude photo of Hall on that text string. Additionally, he saw some text confirming Hall going over to Maglioso's house on December 6th of 2022. Hall then asked Maglioso if she and Amy can make out, that is Maglioso's wife. Maglioso confirmed to Patton that Hall told her specifically about her involvement with Sergeant Powell. So these are two girls, Maglioso's wife and Hall, and they're talking, and Hall mentioned that she had been involved with Sergeant Powell. Maglioso said that Hall even came to work upset at one time because she and Powell had ended it because Powell was not wanting his wife to find out. And he had concern of his position at the Laverne Police Department. He was actually a higher rank than Hall, so he was her superior officer. Maglioso also told Patton that Hall had told the same thing to his wife, Amy, while at their house one night. Maglioso was then asked additional questions regarding the houseboat event, the hot tub party, if you will. And Maglioso shared new details, including confirmation that Hall pulled him into a restroom where she asked him if he, quote, wanted to fuck. Maglioso also shared that later in the evening, he and Hall walked up to the top of the hill where she gave him a blowjob. So Maglioso, at this point, they have two interviews with him, HR Director Patton and the chief. And then Patton speaks with Powell, another officer involved. And that was on 12/13 of 2022, the same day as the first meeting with Maglioso. And he speaks in him in the HR office, and Chief Davis is also there for that meeting, and Powell signs his notifications of rights, begins by describing the culture on the second shift as kind of a wild culture, and officers on that shift being way too mouthy in his description. Powell also said that Sergeant Stats can be too playful with those who report to him. Patton asked Powell about the second shift off-duty hangouts, and Powell said that he was aware of them. Specifically, Powell said he knew that Hall and Maglioso hung out. Powell also said that he knew that Holliday had a football party and that Hall and Maglioso attended that party. Powell said that he had heard that Hall and Maglioso, who were both married, had open marriages. So Patton asked him also about that Girls Gone Wild hot tub party. And Powell, he denies knowing anything about it other than hearing the guys wanted a day out. Patton then asked Powell about hooking up with Hall. And Powell denied any sexual relationship. Patton asked him about sexual acts while on duty at the substation. And again, Powell denied it. Powell then admitted to being at the substation. He admitted to Hall being there at the same time, but denied any sexual acts happening. Patton then asked Powell who else he might have heard could be involved with Hall, and Powell reported that McGowan, another officer, told him that Officer Seneca Shields and Hall hooked up. Powell also reported that he heard McGowan and Hall had hooked up, but did not recall who told him that. Powell reported that Holliday told him they hung out at someone's house one time. Powell told Patton, everybody knows she has multiple partners. And so Patton then asked about Hall sending out naked photos, and he flat denies knowing anything about that. Now, due to the nature of the allegation and the leadership that Powell had on that shift, a decision was made at that time to suspend Powell with pay pending the outcome of the investigation into the sexual acts. Because in this situation, the sexual acts were determined to have taken place on city property rather than, when you're not on shift and you're just hanging out at somebody's house and these things happen, like the hot tub party. So Powell leaves the HR office and he returns home until notified by Human Resources that he could come back to work. And the interviews continue. And on December 16th of 2022, after numerous other interviews, including Hall, it was determined that Powell would return to full duty and was removed from administrative leave. Powell was told the investigation was still ongoing, but he can come back to work. And on December 22nd, they call him in for a second interview. And Patton again asked Powell if he and Hall had had sexual relations while on duty in a city building. And Powell again denies that. Patton asked Powell if he had spoken to Hall, and he denies that. Patton told Powell that he was aware that they both were at Planet Fitness in Murfreesboro, Tennessee on December 14th of 2022. So that's a problem. That is the day after his first interview. HR Director Patton knew for a fact that he was with Powell the next day at that Planet Fitness, so he knew he was lying. However, Powell again denies it. Patton told Powell that the city had a corporate relationship with Planet Fitness, and I know he was there. Powell said, I didn't check in, and Patton said, I know, but there are cameras outside. After that, Powell lowers his head and confirms that he and Hall had had a sexual interaction while on duty inside the police substation. So he knew he was busted for lying about the Planet Fitness thing, and all of a sudden he just starts pouring out information and admits that he did have sexual relations on city property at that substation, and Powell confirmed that Hall gave him a blowjob. Powell also confirmed that he and Hall met at Planet Fitness, and he confirmed that they discussed the investigation and that Powell told Hall he denied all the allegations during his interview with HR. Powell also confirmed that he had spoken and texted with Officer McGowan, another officer there. And Powell told Patton that he and McGowan met down the street from McGowan's house. He confirmed that he and McGowan talked about the denials they provided to HR and that they would stick to the story. Powell also confirmed that he saw Hall's car at McGowan's house very recently and confirmed that McGowan told him that he and Hall had, quote, hooked up. And Patton asked Powell if McGowan told him that they had sex, and Powell said he never said that. He just said they hooked up. Patton asked Powell if he thought it was possible that McGowan and Hall had sex, and Powell affirmed it by just nodding his head up and down. Powell also confirmed that Holliday told him that he and Hall had hooked up. So everybody's pretty much ratting everybody out at this point. And then on December 20th of 2022, Mayor Cole stopped Patton to ask if the investigation was completed. So HR Director Patton tells the mayor that it was ongoing and very messy. And during the course of that investigation, Mayor Cole said that he had recently overheard that Powell had been a victim in a domestic disturbance with his wife who had, quote, beat the shit out of him. Cole said that no police report had been filed, and Patton believed that Mayor Cole had overheard this. However, in a further investigation, Powell believed this information came to the mayor from McGowan. So during that second interview with Powell, he wanted to bring that up, and he asked if he had recently been involved in a domestic disturbance, and Powell confirmed that. And he basically said, "My wife beat the shit out of me." Powell shared that he had told his wife some of the information regarding these concerns. Powell shared that his wife had a divorce attorney and he would most likely lose his children. Powell also confirmed to Patton that he and his wife did not report the incident to police. After the admission of sexual relations while on duty, Powell was again placed on administrative leave with pay, pending the outcome of the investigation. So now we're going to go into Officer Durham, who was also interviewed on 12/13 of 2022 with Patton and Chief Davis. So Durham tells Patton he was aware of a suicide attempt concern regarding Hall. And he said that information came from Executive Administrative Assistant Amber Dixon. When asked about sexual relations within the second shift, Durham said he didn't have any information. When asked about a hot tub party with Eric Statz, if you'll remember that Girls Gone Wild hot tub party, Durham said that he and his family were invited to stay on Stat's houseboat Memorial Day weekend, and Durham said his family arrived along with Stat's family. The next morning, Durham woke up and said he saw Hall on deck having breakfast. Durham reported that Maglioso showed up a little later, and Durham said there was heavy drinking on board, and Hall had fallen down the stairs drunk at one point. Durham reported that he, his wife, and one child shared one bedroom. His other daughter and a friend shared another bedroom, and he said Hall was in one bedroom and Maglioso slept on the couch. Durham reported that at one point Statz told him that Statz thought Maglioso and Hall had gone into the bathroom together. Later, Statz corrected the statement, and he said that Hall went in alone. Durham said that he had talked to Maglioso and Hall while on board about cheating on your spouse, and Durham said that he shared a story of being unfaithful to his own wife with them. Later that night, Durham, Statz, Maglioso, and Hall were all in the hot tub together. Durham reported that Maglioso was pouring vodka down the throat of Hall, and Durham made him stop because of how intoxicated she already was. Durham confirmed that Hall's top did come off, and Statz helped her put it back on because he was trying to protect her. The next day, Maglioso's wife came on the boat for a few hours, but then she left. Durham denied any physical contact with himself and Hall. So on December 20th, they call him in for a second interview, and Patton asked Durham to clarify the information received throughout the investigation, and then asked Durham if he vaped. And Durham says, yeah, one or two times, not regularly. And Patton asked Durham if he went into Hall's room on the houseboat to get her vape, and he replies, yes. I liked the taste of the flavor of the vape, and I went in and asked if I could take a hit off of it. I did, and then I walked out. Patton asked Durham if he ever saw Hall and Maglioso go into the restroom together on that boat, and Durham denied it, saying only that Statz told him about it, and then clarified it did not happen the way Statz thought it did. So on 12/14, now this is This is these first interviews, and on 12/14, which is the day after they conducted the majority of these interviews, Patton speaks with Holliday along with Chief Davis in that HR office, and he signs those notifications of rights. And Holliday was asked by Patton if he knew any intimate relationships within the second shift. So this HR director's doing it right. He's starting off the same way with everybody. Hey, do you have any knowledge of anybody, having sex on the second shift? Same thing he did here. And Holliday replies, no. And then Patton asks Holliday if he knew of any mental health concerns among members at the Laverne Police Department. And Holliday says that he had heard Hall had some. Holliday reported that sometime in the past, but he wasn't sure of the date, that Hall had told him she was having a bad day. Holliday said he didn't think it was really anything of concern, and he didn't report it to anybody. Holliday reported that he had over, some people to watch a football game, and Holliday said Hall, Maglioso, and Officer Womack attended. And Holliday reported, we were doing some heavy drinking at the party, and Patton asked Holliday to explain what happened at that party that could have been inappropriate. Something of an intimate nature. And Holliday reported that there was talk of a threesome between him, Hall, and Holliday's ex. Holliday reported nothing happened at that party, however. Patton asked Holliday if he kissed Hall at the party, and Holliday said, I don't remember. It's possible. Patton asked Holliday if he had sexual intercourse at any time with Hall, and he reported, yep, I sure did. And Patton followed up on the initial question of the investigation on if Holliday was aware of their, any intimate relationships with the department, and said, you told me no, and now you're telling me that you had a sexual relationship with her. And Holliday said he was thinking about others, not himself. So that was kind of his reasoning for lying right off the bat. And from that point, Holliday reports multiple sexual encounters with Hall at his house and at hotels. Holliday reported on one occasion he met Hall at what was known as Sam's Sports Bar, and David Durham walked in with his daughter and sat with him. Hall came in later, and after Durham left, Hall and Holliday went to a hotel for sex. Holliday reported that the last sexual encounter with Hall was sometime around the middle of November, which was about 3 to 4 weeks before the date of the interview that I'm telling you about now. So Patton asked Holliday about the hot tub party, and he denied having any information on that event. Now, on December 27th, Patton calls Holliday in for kind of a second interview, and he asks Holliday again about any knowledge of information that Hall was intimate with other members other than himself of the Laverne Police Department. And Holliday provided no additional information. He basically said, I told you the first time, I don't know anything about it. Of course, he's likely, I submit to you that he's probably lying. I don't know that for 100% fact, but it's obvious all these people on the second shift talk, right? He was unaware of how other members got his name, but did not provide any additional names of people having sex with Hall. He conducted, these interviews on the 13th and 14th. These were all initial interviews, and I've read you some of those follow-ups. On the 13th of December of 2022, he did reach out to Mayor Cole, and he requested that Mayor Cole meet with the source that was basically the person that blew this whole thing up. Nobody knew anything about this going on outside of the participants until this source contacted the mayor. So he reaches out via text to the mayor and wanted to meet with the source. And the mayor reported that the person was unable to meet because they were involved in a, quote, bust operation. That right there says that this person was a police officer. Now, Patton, through normal work, confirmed with Chief Davis that the operation scheduled for that day had been canceled. So if this was a police officer and he was involved in some sort of bust, there was an easy way to confirm that without, having direct knowledge of the person's name. However, the chief says, we canceled that bust. So Patton then texts the mayor again, and he asks if the meeting could be set up because that bust had been canceled. And Patton received no response, no immediate response. Well, later that day, he did receive a pin location at a restaurant at 2:00 p.m. on December 14th for that meeting. So Patton arrives at that restaurant, and Sergeant Ty McGowan pulls up next to Patton and rolls his window down and says, "Follow me." McGowan pulls out, and Patton followed. And then Patton and McGowan, they pull behind baseball fields in the Tennessee National Guard facility. And Patton and McGowan get into McGowan's truck. Patton asked McGowan why they had to meet here. Why are we this secret? And McGowan said he wanted to make sure he wasn't followed. McGowan said that he was there because the mayor had asked him to meet with Patton, and Patton tells McGowan that he was conducting an interview into a sensitive matter regarding the second shift, and McGowan looked confused, and he says, "Okay, that's not why I'm here." And McGowan tells Patton that he did not go to the mayor on the morning of 12/12 to report concerns. So he says, "I didn't do that. I was told by the mayor to meet you." And Patton asked McGowan who was talking to the mayor if it wasn't him. And McGowan replies, "I have no idea." And Patton tells McGowan that he was here to talk about concerns around Officer Hall. And McGowan said he would tell the HR director anything he wanted to know, and that everybody talks to me. I know everything about everybody, he says. And McGowan pulls out his personal phone, and he shows Patton texts between himself and Hall. Hall texted McGowan on December 4th of that year saying she did not want to be alone and asked if she could come over to his house. And after some text discussion, it was confirmed that Hall could come over, and Hall told McGowan that she wanted to talk about her mom, who was suicidal, and that her dad was not taking it seriously. McGowan told Patton that he knew about a get-together at Hall's house with Hall, her husband, Maglioso, and Maglioso's wife. McGowan also reported that Maglioso's wife and Hall's husband went to a back bedroom together, and that Hall and Maglioso took that to mean the swap was on, and they proceed to have sex. McGowan told Patton that Hall's husband confronted her about cheating. McGowan also shared details on that famous hot tub party at Stat's boathouse. McGowan added that Stats placed Hall into her bedroom after the hot tub incident. Hall told McGowan that Durham came into her room and took a hit off her vape and walked out. McGowan said that he heard Sergeant Powell and Hall might have gotten together, but never heard anything about it being on shift. McGowan had no information on Hall or Holliday. When asked if McGowan had ever received a new photo or photos from Hall, McGowan says yes. McGowan handed his personal cell phone to Patton with permission to view the text exchanges. Patton viewed multiple nude images and also a few videos of Hall performing sexual acts on herself. Patton also read text messages where she was asking McGowan to, quote, fuck her and drag her around by her hair. There was no visual evidence that McGowan ever engaged in those text exchanges. Now on 12/21 of 2022, Patton again asked Mayor Cole if he had any new information on the case while he's investigating it, and Cole said that no, he had not, and then grabbed his personal cell phone and he shows Patton 2 missed calls that morning from McGowan. Cole told Patton that he was ignoring the calls from McGowan because he was still pissed at him for telling me he did not know why he was at that meeting. So the mayor is saying, now he knew full well why he was meeting with you. However, he played it off like he didn't, and I don't understand that. So Cole told Patton he had absolutely called me to tell me that information, talking about McGowan, and Patton told Cole that he should be cautious as Cole might be getting set up. So HR Director Patton is basically saying to the mayor, they may be trying to set you up here. You need to be real careful. So he's believing the mayor, you know, in the mayor's story about McGowan saying he had all this information that McGowan absolutely denied to the HR director. And he's thinking they're trying to set you up. Something's not right. Now, in a second interview, and the first officially inside the city on 12/22 of 2022, Patton confronts McGowan about his inconsistency about that initial meeting. He basically said, you telling me one thing and the mayor's telling me another. Overall, throughout the interview, McGowan was not being cooperative at all. He kind of was feeling like the jig was up. He was rude and extremely verbally aggressive. McGowan denies having sex with Hall. McGowan denied having communication with Hall regarding the investigation. And Patton asked for any information that McGowan had regarding Powell having sex or sexual acts with Hall. And McGowan finally admitted to knowing Powell had sex with Hall. McGowan denied knowing about it being on duty. He's basically, they had sex, but I didn't know it was when they were working. McGowan denied the accusation of sending nude photos to Hall. At some point, it had been mentioned that McGowan had sent nude photos actually to Hall. Then McGowan asked Patton to leave the room, this interview room, because he's like, I want to speak with Chief Davis alone. And Patton says, all right, that's fine. So Patton leaves the room. He sits there a little while, and then Patton is asked to come back into the room. So McGowan struggled to share that when Hall was a candidate and in the process of being hired, so it was kind of like her trial period, Hall and her husband, McGowan and another female, they all meet up at Hall's house. And during that meeting, Hall was naked. The other female got naked, and Hall's husband gets pissed. He's pissed off about this. His wife's naked with another female, and there's another male in the room, being McGowan. During that visit, McGowan admitted to taking out his penis with Hall in the room and taking a photo of it. He then sends that picture to Hall. So McGowan continues to be verbally aggressive. He keeps interrupting Patton and basically saying, I don't want to answer any more questions. You need to quit asking me questions. McGowan eventually gives in to answering more questions, and Patton asks McGowan if in the past he told Hall that if she ever wanted to just use him for sex, let him know. And McGowan continued to deny that. And McGowan confirmed that Hall had been to his house on December 5th of 2022 and provided details of the visit, including that she was in his bedroom at one point. So then on 12/15 of 2022, Bethany Smith, who was a HR department worker, goes to Patton, her boss, and explains a situation regarding McGowan in the HR office. Smith provides a written statement on what happened, and she said one afternoon about a month ago, Ty McGowan had come into Human Resources. He spent time chatting and cutting up with Leah Presley and myself. After about 10 minutes, I turned back around in my desk to go back to work. The next thing I know, he came up behind me, placed his hand around my throat, and began to squeeze. I froze. I could not say anything. I just sat there. I felt uncomfortable, like a major boundary had been crossed and I had been violated. I just wanted to crawl in a hole and cry, and he was smiling and laughing. So Patton gets this information and he reaches out to Leah Presley, also an HR department worker, and she provides a written statement as well. And she said, sometime in September, Ty McGowan came in the HR office to talk with Bethany and myself. It was a casual talk, chit-chat about nothing out of the ordinary. Bethany was sitting at her desk and I was sitting at mine. After about 10 minutes, I was getting back to work and Bethany was too. All of a sudden, Ty stands up from the office chair he was sitting in and he grabs Bethany's throat. I could not see her face and did not hear her say anything while this was happening, but he was smiling and talking to her about something. I didn't even hear the words he was saying as I was taken aback by him grabbing her throat. It happened for a few seconds or so, and then he lets her go. Bethany was laughing and cutting up after the initial act, so initially, to me, it really didn't seem that alarming. Immediately after he let go, he came into the back office where I was sitting and tried to hug me. I did not engage with those type of things and said something along the lines of, "You got the wrong girl, pal." He respected that, chatted a few more words to Bethany before exiting the human resource office. Bethany and I did not discuss the event until recently, in which I learned she felt threatened and uncomfortable. I wish I had reported the incident when it initially happened. This was a learning experience for me, and in the future, I will make the decision to report it regardless of the impact. I apologize for not doing so. So Patton, armed with this information, he goes to McGowan and he says to explain what happened in that HR office. And McGowan laughs and he said he didn't know what happened. Patton told him that he came into the HR office and placed his hands around the neck of Bethany Smith. And McGowan laughs and he says, "Yeah, it happened. I was playing around." He's pretty sure that a member of the maintenance staff might have seen him joking around, but he claims it was just playing around. And Patton tells McGowan that the act was reported to him by a witness. And when Patton spoke with Smith, that she confirmed that the event happened and that it was strange and odd. So if you were playing around, why did she feel like it was strange? And Patton spoke to Leah Presley as well. He let McGowan know, and also let McGowan know that she could not figure out why somebody would do that. And then Patton starts pressing McGowan a little bit more about the meeting with the mayor. He found it very strange that McGowan was denying knowing about that meeting or knowing the reason for the meeting. And McGowan continued to deny knowing why he was asked to meet with Patton. And Patton asked McGowan multiple times if he was saying the mayor was lying. And McGowan kind of refuses to answer that question. And Patton told McGowan that he knew that McGowan called the mayor twice on December 21st and that the mayor did not pick up. Remember, the mayor showed Patton the messages, the missed calls rather. And McGowan confirmed that he did call the mayor. And the mayor did not pick up. And he says, "Well, why do you think the mayor is suddenly ignoring your phone calls?" And McGowan said, "I have no idea why." So the reason Patton was sharing this information, y'all, was to show McGowan that Patton kind of knew the truth behind how the information was first revealed and that it came from McGowan to the mayor directly. He's kind of trying to show him, I know that you're in contact with the mayor. McGowan gets placed on administrative leave with pay pending the outcome of that investigation. And we're going to stop it right there. We're about an hour in, but we got a long way to go, y'all. We got a long way. We're going to definitely wrap up Patton's investigation into all these instances that we are covering. And believe me, it gets really crazy as we move forward. And then we're going to move into Hall and her lawsuit against the Laverne Police Department. You're not going to believe the stuff that comes out in that lawsuit, and we got it all for you. Thank you so much for listening to episode 1 of Exposed Scandalous Files of the Elite, the infamous exploits of police officer Maegan Hall. Much love.